What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler and today we are talking about the worst sneakers of 2018. And let me tell you, there were some stinkers, there were some awful shoes that I didn't believe could be this awful and yet somehow they are. But before we dive into the crap, I'm going to change up the energy of the video a little bit and thank the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. Whether you need a domain, website, or online store, make it happen with Squarespace. I've actually used Squarespace for years and most of my websites are on Squarespace and I'm transitioning the last couple over to Squarespace pretty much as we speak. But more about that in a minute. Every year since 2016 when I started my YouTube channel, I've made a video highlighting, well, I don't know if highlighting is the right word, talking about the worst sneakers of that year. And every year there's some awful shoes that drop from brands that should know better, but yet they drop them anyway. To give you guys an example of sneakers that I've talked about in the past, we've had shoes like the KD8 Elite, which I've also put shoes on the list that seem to stir up controversy, like the Adidas Yeezy Boost 350 V2 in the Yebra colorway. I'm still really blown away how people like that shoe at all. But this year takes the cake. This year has by far the worst sneakers I've ever seen. I did a Twitch stream a couple days ago on my Twitch channel, Seth Fowler, talking about some of the best and worst sneakers that have dropped this year, and I found myself constantly cringing because there were so many shoes that I completely forgot released this year, and for good reason, because they're garbage. So why don't I just stop wasting your time and let's just get this list out of the way, starting off with a sneaker that I guess you can call an honorable mention. The Nike Mars Yard Overshoe. I really didn't want to put this sneaker on the list because I love the Mars Yard sneakers and I love what Tom Sachs has done with Nike in the past. And to be fair, I understand the reasoning behind this sneaker and why he made it look the way that he made it, I think. But coming from the point of view of a fan of the Mars Yard line and the Tom Sachs collaborations, I can't get behind this sneaker. I really can't. And the reason I say that is because the Mars Yards are meant to be worn. The original Mars Yard was made from materials that were used on the Mars lander, and the idea behind the sneaker was to create a futuristic workhorse that people could wear and use in any condition. And then of course we had the Mars Yard 2.0s that released a year or two ago that were just kind of a retro on the original sneaker. But according to Tom Sachs, who called himself an impromptu wear tester in the article that I read, the shoe didn't really hold up to the conditions that he wanted it to hold up to. So rather than changing a couple materials on the original silhouette, he decided to put that silhouette inside a plastic bag. That's not a joke. There's actually a Mars Yard inside this white plastic garbage bag. And therein lies my problem, because I love the Mars Yard. I love the Mars Yard 2.0. I probably would love the Mars Yard that's inside this plastic bag, but the plastic bag itself, that is pure crap. I would never wear this, and I don't know many people that would. That's not true. I know a lot of sneaker snobs who'd probably wear these to sneaker events, but other than them, normal people would probably not wear this shoe. And the weirdest and the worst part is that the Mars Yard is actually sewn into this Mars Yard overshoe, so even if you wanted to, you couldn't cut it out. You couldn't like take the sneaker out and just have the Mars Yard. You have to have the garbage bag, which literally covers up all the parts of the sneaker that anyone likes, so it's like, why even have that sneaker in there? If you can't even see it, what's the point? Just give us the garbage bag and call it a day. Drop the price by 300 bucks, you know? That would be great. Actually, it wouldn't be great because I wouldn't want it either, so it is what it is. The worst part is that I get the idea behind the sneaker. I understand his motivation for doing this, but why did he have to make it look like that? Why did Tom Sachs have to go so literal on this Mars work boot? I just don't get it. I don't understand it. You know that feeling when you screwed up as a kid and your dad, rather than saying he's pissed at you, just says he's disappointed? That in a nutshell is my exact feeling with this sneaker. I'm disappointed in it. Not trying to say I'm Tom Sachs' dad to clear out all those kind of weird comments that I know would happen if I didn't say that. No, it's just I'm disappointed in the sneaker. Number 10. The Post Malone Crocs. About a month ago, Inside Edition invited me over to their studios in Manhattan to review a pair of these Post Malone Crocs, which up until that point, I didn't even realize existed. Let me preface this by saying I don't have a problem with Post Malone. I think he's a great guy. I think his music is good. I'm not like a big super fan or anything, but I definitely like his music. He also seems like a cool, relatable guy, which is probably helped by the fact that he wears Crocs to every show that he performs and bar event and really anything he does. So in that way, this collaboration makes perfect sense. Crocs is doing fine. Crocs is doing great. They don't need any more publicity. They don't need any weird signature collaborations, and yet they got one. I learned more about Crocs than I ever thought I'd know because of this review that I did. And now I'm aware of gibbets, which are the little things that you kind of jam into the Croc holes. I'm sorry for that gesture. I didn't care to know what those things were called, and I probably will never use that word ever again after this video, but this shoe comes with Post Malone gibbets. So the sneaker itself is just a standard Croc in white with a printed pattern of this little demon baby all over it, which is kind of odd to begin with. The print quality also isn't great because if you look at the side of the sneaker, the head is kind of crunched, and if you look at the top of the sneaker, it's kind of just elongated. And from a distance, the Crocs kind of look like they have some sort of disease. It's an understandable collaboration because of the people involved, but I will never understand the fact that this sneaker resells. Look it up on eBay, it goes for a lot. Number 9. The Jordan Legacy 312. As I'm sure a lot of you remember from earlier this year, this shoe was originally announced as a Don C collaboration. And I think a lot of people got the idea, an idea which I actually agree with, that Don C probably did not design this sneaker. If you look back at Don C's previous Air Jordan collab on the Air Jordan 2 Don C, it's a beautiful looking sneaker. Don C and the design team over at Jordan Brand knocked it out of the park. It's one of the most coveted Air Jordan 2s of all time, and it looks really nice and it feels great on feet. The Jordan Legacy 312 initially leaked and was universally panned. And Don C was very quick to say, oh yeah, you haven't seen it in real life yet, you don't know how it looks, it looks way worse online. And I wish that were true. There were maybe 4 Don C Jordan Legacy 312s to drop before mysteriously Don C's name was just wiped from the shoe. And that really makes me think that Jordan Brand offered him a collaboration. They didn't tell him what the sneaker was gonna look like. They didn't give him any opportunity to design the sneaker and just told him, you're gonna be getting a shoe and we're gonna put your name on it and that's what's gonna happen. And he probably wasn't too stoked on that when he saw the sneaker because it is just a god-awful hybrid shoe. Somehow Don C and probably the creative writing team at Nike came up with this big story about how it like shows off his Chicago legacy and how like different parts of the shoe just are, you know, come from, I don't know. And again, the reason I think that is because they've released like 8 other colorways of the shoe and none of them say Don C. And Don C hasn't said anything else about the shoe since they originally dropped. Whatever the case may be, I think this sneaker is definitely in contention for one of the worst collaborations of the year. And as you guys can already see, it made it on my list of just generally the worst sneakers of 2018. Number 8. The Supreme Nike Spectrum Plus in black. Supreme has definitely had more misses than hits when it comes to Nike collaborations in the last couple years, and in my opinion, this is probably the worst. This sneaker is a rehash of the original Nike Spectrum Plus, which released back in the early 2000s, and what Supreme did was put their logo in 1 or 2 spots, and that was it. But surprisingly, that's not actually what I'm mad at about this sneaker. What I'm mad at is how much this sneaker resembles a discount Hot Wheels. This collaboration dropped in 2 colorways this year. We had a white, purple, and red version, and then of course this black, green, and blue version. I did a review on the white, purple, and red version, which I was blown away by how poor the quality was when I got it in hand. And then I went to round 2, and I saw the black version, and I was shocked. Somehow the black version is like double the amount of bad. They took all the BS from the original version and like turned it to night mode and then added sparkles. I mean, the laces look bejeweled, like it's nuts, and it's just the worst thing I've ever seen. Well, that's not true, obviously, because this sneaker isn't at the top of the list, but you know where I'm coming from. Not only that, but this sneaker is incredibly uncomfortable. And it also feels like one of the most cheaply made sneakers I've ever felt in my entire life. I mean, it feels like paper and plastic. This sneaker is definitive proof that Supreme can put their logo on anything, no matter how small, and still somehow make it a hype item. Because, man, that Supreme logo was tiny, and this sneaker still sold out. Number 7. The original Adidas Tear Up colorway in red and blue. Let me start things off by saying, if it wasn't for this colorway, this sneaker might not have made the list. Honestly, not a terrible sneaker, especially not in the more subtle, like black and white or olive colorways. But in this straight up like web slinger colorway that you've got red and blue and then friggin' Spider-Man webs all over it, it looks like garbage. There are so many like little things about this shoe that if they had just done ever so slightly differently, it would have been, I mean, okay. The first and most glaring example of this is, what the hell is going on with that netting around the upper of the shoe? Like, where is that from? What is that for? It's definitely not for Adidas Jibbits because they don't make those. It's almost like this net is trying to trap your foot in just bad. And out of all the colorways it could have gone with for a launch colorway, like bright pinkish red and then bright blue? Super weird aesthetic with this shoe, one that I just don't understand, and I felt like with this release, they really thought that this was gonna be the next big thing. Which, why? And it's sad because if it was unbelievably comfortable, you might be able to look past just the awful aesthetics, but it feels like you're wearing a brick. If it didn't come with that relatively soft Ortholite insole, you would be standing on a plastic block, and I kid you not. Really, take out that insole at the sneaker store, like try and squeeze on that midsole, and there's no give at all. It feels like you're knocking on a wall. Like it feels like that. But let's just chill out for a second and talk about something that doesn't make me feel sick. Squarespace. One of my favorite parts about Squarespace is that they have these templates that make it really easy to create an incredible website that really makes your brand stand out online. Whether you're just starting out something on the side or promoting your main business, Squarespace has you covered. I could say from personal experience that Squarespace has incredible customer service that runs 24/7, and with Squarespace's all-in-one platform, there's never anything to install, patch, or upgrade, ever. It's all up in the cloud. Super easy. And recently, Squarespace's domain tools have become super useful to me because I'm currently in the process of transferring my web store over from another service to Squarespace. They make domain transfers extremely simple, which has helped me out a lot. And the reason I'm actually transferring my web store is because Squarespace makes it incredibly easy to sell your products online and manage your inventory. So check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch your own website, head to squarespace.com/Seth Fowler for 10% off your first order of a domain or website. Number 6, the Nike VaporMax Lite 2. I pulled up an image of this shoe and I was just blown away by the fact that this shoe somehow made it past the design phase. So to describe for you what it is, it's a sort of a updated, almost like high heel version of a VaporMax outsole, which is already just a bad mark in my book. And then they've gone and added some sort of futuristic winter boot on top, which is just the weirdest thing I've ever seen. In certain colorways, it looks like a hiking boot, which it obviously isn't. And in other colorways, it looks like it was meant to be in Tron, which again, it wasn't. It's just a super weird, unnecessary take on the VaporMax, on boots, on style, on fashion. It's a women's exclusive, which now I've got to say, I am so sorry, ladies, that you have to be subjected to this because this is garbage. Number 5, the Tinker Air Jordan 13 Black Cat. This year, Jordan Brand started a pretty cool new initiative where they're taking some of Tinker Hatfield's original sketches of sneakers that we all know and love and actually turning them into fully fledged shoes. And in some cases, like the JTH Air Jordan 3s, the sneakers have been insane successes. Then there have also been more subtle versions, which I guess are just Tinker colorways. But in the midst of these Tinker releases, a shoe so horrible, so downright bad, reared its ugly head and was quickly snubbed by every retailer that carried the shoe. The shoe should have stayed a sketch. There's no reason they should have made this shoe. This sneaker was originally an early sketch of the beloved Air Jordan 13, and for some reason, they just felt like they had to go and ruin it for us. The Tinker Air Jordan 13 Black Cat is sort of a low-top version of the Air Jordan 13 with a strap. You know those like low-top Formula One inspired Pumas that every like European dad seems to wear? That's what this reminds me of. And to be fair, the sneaker that followed up the Air Jordan 13 in the Air Jordan line, the 14s, was modeled off a sports car like a Ferrari, but this shouldn't have happened. Number 4, the Under Armour ASAP Rocky collaboration. I'm from Baltimore, Under Armour's from Baltimore, we're kind of tight that way, but for some reason this year Under Armour decided to change things up from sort of a very streamlined sort of weightlifting sportswear brand to a brand that also makes dad shoes. And the Under Armour ASAP Rocky sneaker is a prime example of why they shouldn't do that. This sneaker has all the hallmarks of a Payless knockoff shoe while still being a legitimate collaboration sneaker. First of all, I'm aware that sneakers go on your feet, but this shoe looks like a foot. This sneaker is the epitome of, I want to be a skate shoe so bad, but I just can't. And I think Under Armour just has no business making shoes like this. They have never made shoes like this in the past that I know of, and I hope to God that they stop making shoes like this in the future because this is bad. It also kind of looks like it has this air unit in the forefoot, which is actually hover and not air. But the placement of it in the forefoot is a very weird thing. It looks like they moved that sort of pill-shaped cutout up a couple inches just to not get hit by that patent lawsuit. It's a dull, oversized, bulky shoe, probably worn by someone named Lyle or Rakeem Myers. Number 3. The women's Air Jordan 1 Rebel XX. In the last year or two, Jordan Brand has created a design team for women by women. And the reason for that is that over the years, women have kind of been left out when it comes to dope Jordans. You could sometimes find the good colorways in smaller sizes, but a lot of times the really great exclusive stuff was only available to the larger men's sizes. And so as a response to that, Jordan Brand created this exclusively female team to actually design sneakers that would be worn and loved by women. And before I go in on this sneaker, I just want to say that what the team is doing is dope. I like a lot of the stuff that they've made. I think it's really cool that Jordan Brand is actually taking notice of the other half of the planet and creating things that people really want to wear. But within some of those really dope releases, like those Aleli May 1s or the satin shattered backboards, there have been some shoes that really suck. And the Air Jordan 1 Rebel XX is the poster child of shoes that suck. If Jordan Brand's mission is to make the more hype sneakers and more hype colorways more accessible to women, why are they creating sneakers that look like a sewn together Frankenstein and putting dope colorways like the Chicago colorway on it rather than just giving women a Chicago colorway? There's not one good looking angle on this shoe. I'm sorry. Like, this is just a classic example of overthinking something. Like, throw satin on a Chicago one, like they did with the shattered backboards. That was an excellently executed sneaker. It was exclusive to women. Guys were drooling all over it. Everything about that shoe was awesome. But why do this? Number 2, the Gucci Flash Trek. I don't think Gucci has any business making sneakers. There is not one Gucci sneaker that I would ever wear. And the Flash Trek is one of the most ridiculous, just garbage ass trash. It is so, I mean, oh my God, this shoe is like if the Migos were a sneaker. I literally cannot imagine one occasion where it would be okay to wear this sneaker unless you're going to the worst dressed ever awards. And if the look of this fake jewel covered sneaker doesn't blow you away enough, the price tag might, because it's $1,600. That's a real price tag, and this shoe is actually selling. Number 1, the Mason Margiela Color Block. I legitimately think this sneaker is the designer world flipping us off and telling us they can sell us whatever they want and we'll buy it. And the worst part is they're not wrong. This sneaker is $1,650 and most sizes are sold out on most websites. And if you couldn't already tell, yes, that is real hot glue and real tape on this sneaker. I would assume that the manufacturing process around the sneaker is not so much workers actually making the shoe, but Margiela buying old shoes, gluing them together, and then having the workers wear them around while they make other shoes. And I'm almost not even sure if I'm joking. I would love to be in the design meeting for this shoe. I would love it. I would love to know what was being said, because I cannot imagine a world where this isn't a joke. I really can't. I really cannot. I've seen this sneaker on display at Kith. I've picked up the sneaker, I've held this sneaker, and it is as garbage as it looks. Every other sneaker on the list at least looked new. When you bought the shoe, it came new. When you spend $1,650 on this sneaker, you are not even getting a new sneaker. You are literally getting a product that was as if someone put double-sided tape on their feet and walked through a dumpster. That's what this is. So that pretty much wraps up the video for today. I would love to know your thoughts on the worst sneakers of 2018 and whether you think my list was right or if you think there's some other sneakers that I completely missed that are somehow worse than the sneakers on this list, which I still don't think is possible. So make sure to leave those comments in the comment section down below. Once again, huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. When you're ready to start your own website or domain, head on over to squarespace.com/Seth Fowler for 10% off your first purchase. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe down below if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.